It's the Underpowered Hour. On this week's show, Land Rover releases the Dakar Defender livery, and then we talk about winterizing your Land Rover and workshop projects that we've got going on this winter. And now, here's the show. Welcome to the Underpowered Hour. I am the clear sight sensor array to Ike's bimetallic strip. I'm the sensitive undercarriage of podcasting, Steve Baris. You can find out more about our cars and what we're working on at theberescollection.com or follow us on Instagram at Beres Collection. I'm joined, as always, by my good friend, Ike Goss.
Thank you to everyone joining us today. I own and operate Pangolin 4x4 in Springfield, Oregon, where we live and breathe Land Rovers. Check us out online on Facebook, Instagram at Pangolin 4x4. Let's get started.
All right, Ike. Well, this week, the biggest news has got to be the reveal, finally, of Team Defender's Dakar Rally livery.
Yes. Yeah.
What do you think? What are your first impressions? Describe it to people for those who haven't had a chance to see it.
Well, I'm going to use Land Rover's own words in the description. According to their press release, Land Rover Defender Dakar D7XR uses a desert-inspired livery called Geo Palette, which features earthy tones like sand, stone, and earth with contrasting aqua accents. This design reflects the arid landscape of the Dakar Rally and is part of the vehicle's new look for its debut in the 2026 rally. The aqua accents are used for contrast and drawn from rare desert waters, according to their press release. So somehow they've managed to release this race vehicle and sound even more pretentious than normal.
I know, it's amazing. For me, it evokes, like a 60-something retiree that lives in the desert. It's very tan. And it has a lot of turquoise on it. So,
I can see that. that. I feel like, a lot of race car liveries, they sort of want to stand out from the background.
Yeah.
They're usually bright colors, logos on them. That's more subdued. It is going to, especially in profile, blend into the desert landscape. It's going to be interesting to see how this photographs in the desert.
Yeah, you definitely won't be able to see this in the desert at all.
Sort of a desert camo, if you will.
It is desert camo. It's so they can sneak up on the other competitors, of which we've just done an exhaustive search. We've still yet to find another competitor in this class. So
we spent at least 30 seconds Googling. This is a new class. This is called the stock or production class.
Yeah.
And it is a little unclear who Land Rover will be competing against. There may be a Toyota team.
There might be, yeah.
There may be. It'll be interesting to see who exactly they're up against. Are there 2 or 3 Land Rover teams? Do you remember?
I think based on the uniform photos, I believe there are 3 teams.
3 teams.
There are 3 teams. And they've released not just the exterior photos of the turquoise Bandit, but also the updated interior photos that has, what's interesting is I don't believe it has the correct steering wheel in the regular photos. It has a Defender steering wheel, but I think in fact it will get a proper racing wheel, as other photos that I've seen don't have this interior. They have what looks like an actual race car interior. This looks very much like a staged Land Rover curated photo of the interior of the car, which is, from a shape standpoint, no different than the production car, but from an actual control standpoint, completely different from the production car. All of the production control surfaces and displays and everything have been removed, and instead it is all rallied up with specific buttons for all the different functions and all that.
Now, we've read that one of the specifications, or one of the interesting things about this class, is that there's a cap on the amount of money that the teams can spend on their vehicles, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Now, this is actually kind of interesting because it said 300 to 350 was the expected expenditure in euros. sorry, I should say 300 to 350,000 euros was the expected expenditure, but teams might spend up to 500,000 euros on these production vehicles. Now, with some of the special edition Defenders sort of creeping in on that, how can we be sure that there's any room for modifications on these cars?
It's a good point. Yeah, if you're already buying an Octa, you're pretty close to that number. So yeah, and especially the amount of modifications that these vehicles require, I don't know. It's tough. I mean, just putting the roll cage inside of a modern Defender has got to be no small feat. That's got to take a huge amount of effort and modification. And certainly the drivetrain has been upgraded, and there are some special features. There's what Land Rover is calling flight mode, which apparently your tray tables need to be in the full upright and locked position before deploying flight mode. But it's essentially a torque modifier that ensures a soft landing for the Dakar Defender.
That's what it says, is like a software change. And I guess when the vehicle becomes airborne, I'm assuming you would just take your foot off the gas, but I guess this would allow the driver to just keep their foot in the throttle the whole time.
I guess so, yeah. So that as not to, but at the same time, I guess you want to make sure that like engine RPM and wheel speed is matched appropriately when you hit the ground on the other side, so that you're not all of a sudden thunking in a ton of power into the drivetrain. So I don't know, maybe this controls for that. This thing is so heavy, though, I can't imagine that it's going to get super airborne, but you never know. I mean, certainly there's plenty of whoops out there. So
I think that, there's a lot of opportunities to get airborne, even with a heavy vehicle like this, especially with how much power they're claiming that this vehicle has. But the vehicle interior photos, they show a pretty basic roll cage, and racing seats and, fire extinguishers. And there is a racing wheel in the picture that I'm looking at. So it'll be interesting to see. No headliner in this car, no door panels. There's some carbon fiber details. There, mounts for the rally computer. There's, some stuff, but there's no carpet. But by and large, it looks a lot like a production vehicle in most senses. And I guess that's the point. It supposedly is a production vehicle, so.
Yeah, that's right. It is supposed to be a production vehicle. And if you look, Alley Sport has some photos as they're supporting one of the Dakar Classic teams. They took some photos of one of these cars sitting in Spain in the testing. And that's a much more utilitarian look at that interior, as this one has clearly been very curated for photos. The official Land Rover photos are highly curated, but the trackside photos, it does look a little more reasonable, as there's stickers and things and all kinds of stuff that the team's obviously using when they're prepping and running the cars. Plus the iPads aren't in there, as the Dakar a number of years ago switched over to digital road books, so that you don't have the paper road book anymore. And that also does some tracking of your vehicle and those sort of things, so that the race can find you if you get lost. Speaking of taking flight, though, what do you think of the race suits?
The race suits echo the vehicle in many ways. They're basically desert sort of tan jumpsuits, and I think they've got some aqua epaulettes or something like that.
That's exactly right. Yeah, they do. The turquoise epaulettes, but I have to say they, for me, fall somewhere between Top Gun and Ghostbusters.
I'm going to go with a little more obscure reference. I was kind of looking up other tan of utility suits, and the one that caught my eye was the space diaper. And I guess the sort of waste extraction sort of thing. And I'll be honest, it looks almost identical to the Dakar jumpsuits.
Very, very similar. Yeah, I also, because these are so similar to the skin tone of the drivers, I worry from a distance they will look completely nude.
We can only hope.
And if they were to get lost in the desert for some reason, they would be completely invisible to other cars.
I know how you feel about Stefan Peter Hansel. So
I do. Peter Hansel. He's a good-looking man. And so it's good if you're going 300 miles an hour through the desert and for some reason one of the Defender competitors is out of their vehicle, you would just completely obliterate them without ever even knowing they were there.
We'll hope that they do not get injured, because, I don't think emergency services will find them in the desert.
No, it's completely invisible. Completely invisible.
Now, what we haven't seen have we seen the helmets?
The helmets are simply black. Well, right now, it appears that the helmets sort of mirror the sponsorship of the individual drivers. So the two American drivers have Monster Energy stickers on the side. Peter Hensel has he's got the Red Bull on the side of his. So do one of the other drivers. So they seem to be, I don't know if those are helmets they've used in rallies past and they're going to have different helmets, or if this is just sort of how it is, but they seem to all be black. So again, not, better than tan, but also not the most colorful helmets in the world. So,
okay. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, there you have it. It's pretty interesting to see Land Rover, coming back to racing after so many years and purportedly competing with other people, although we don't know who.
We don't know who. Yeah, maybe competing with other people. Tough to say at this point, but
time will tell.
And the UK's October car output report is out, and you'll be glad to know, Ike, that basically a quarter of all the output of the British car industry has been taken out because of JLR's cyber attack.
This is going to take a long time to recover from. This has been in the news for several months now, and I think it's gonna take maybe years for them to fully recover from this. And everything is so integrated nowadays. All these computer systems are so integrated. So when you have pretty comprehensive, security failure like this, it's going to affect every aspect of the business, and it's affecting all the way down to small, workshops who don't even work on modern cars. We certainly see it. We have been unable to get genuine Land Rover parts up until recently, and they've only recently become available. So that was from October all the way through to almost December.
Yeah, and
so
this,
you got to just cascading into just massive expense throughout their organization. But
no, it's nuts. It's interesting though to see that they are literally 25%, 24% of the British car industry is still Land Rover. Yeah,
I thought they would be more than that, to be honest.
Yeah, Morgan's. Yeah, that's not 75%. I don't know. What do they still make there that's making up? And even the Defender isn't even made in the UK. So I don't know. It's interesting.
I don't know how they count that. Yeah. Is it produced by British-owned firms, or is it made in England, or what is it?
I don't know. It's an interesting statistic though, because man, what a hit! Wow, what a hit! That's still, the hits just keep on coming there from our friends at JLR.
We're hoping for some good news, and I think that we're going to see a lot of press on the Dakar entries, and that's going to come up real soon. So
yeah, that'll be great.
We've got that event's in January, so.
It's true, yeah. It's coming up. It's coming up super fast, and we'll be doing a little bit of coverage of that, I'm sure, as we do. Still no word. Have you looked at the Dakar Classic cars? Is there a Land Rover running in the Dakar Classic this year?
There are multiple Land Rovers running this year. I've been following last year's third place winner.
Yeah.
They're piloting a blue 109 Series 3, I believe it is.
Yep.
And that vehicle is back. And
it's back. So it's the same car. They're doing it again.
They're doing it again.
Fantastic.
And I think they shipped the car to Spain for technical inspection. And they took some photos of another Defender, also a two-door classic Range Rover.
Oh, cool. Excellent. That's going to be awesome. I'm looking very forward. I have to say, Dakar Classic has sort of, obviously with Liza and Jenna being involved, but the Dakar Classic has really kind of reignited an interest, I think, in, that race, generally speaking, because it's a little unapproachable to get into the super purpose-built, off-road machines or whatever. But I think the classics, it's so much more approachable. Plus, they're just they're from a friendlier time of automobiles, they're just neater, older Renaults and, Audis and obviously the Land Rovers and things. It's just fun. It's just cool.
It is cool. I am looking forward to a Dakar Classic motorcycle class, and famously there were several Vespas that have entered the Dakar, and that would be fun to do the Dakar Classic motorcycle event on a
Vespa. Well, Ikers, it's not too late to sign up for next year's competition.
Well, there's not that class yet, so
we can. I think if you have enough money, they'll just make you a class.
That
seems to be. I'm just saying that,
who would have done such a thing?
It seems as though
for that?
Maybe it's something that you could have done if you were so inclined. So
can't imagine anyone would do
I
that.
don't know. I'm just saying. People are saying.
All right.
Maybe that's a thing. So there you have it. Well, It is chilly willy outside here in Los Angeles. A balmy 52 degrees outside.
Nippy.
People are dressed as though they are climbing Mount Everest here in the greater Los Angeles area.
I feel like they do that even when it's like 90 degrees. You see a lot of people with giant puffy jackets when it's, what's it with people wearing sock hats when it's 100?
I don't know. That's just, they love a good toque here in Los Angeles. A fashionable toque is a staple here of your wardrobe. If it is under 90 degrees,
Understand it.
That's toque weather. So, but we thought maybe it'd be good to do a little conversation around, as we try to do every year, winterizing your Land Rover and or getting ready for that winter project, or in a segment we're calling General Winter Shit. So,
all right.
Yeah.
Well, what are some things that you think about when the weather starts to get chillier? You live in a part of the country where you don't really have to do any winter
The funny
prep.
thing is I actually think about driving my cars more often and further because it isn't 110 degrees outside.
Okay.
That's the funny thing, is here in especially Southern California and up through the, obviously Death Valley and into the, into Nevada and things, we really think about this is when you take the long trip. This is when you drive, the Land Rover every day. There's no downside versus in the summer when the rest of the country are driving their Land Rovers and enjoying them. It is too hot for us. Not because the car can't drive in that weather. It certainly can. It's equipped to deal with very hot weather, but I am not. I do not want to be in my Land Rover when it is 110 degrees. It's like, when you solar cooked a hot dog back in high school or junior high, that sort of feels like that. It's a bit of a sauna in there and not the most fun in the world. So I actually look at, winter, some opportunities to take some trips, to do, go camping in the trucks, that sort of stuff.
But you don't have to actually do any winter prep for that.
No, not really. The bigger thing is just unstuffing the cars from wherever they have been resting and, making sure fluids are changed and all that sort of stuff,
So the bulk of this segment is resting on my shoulders, is what you're saying.
It could be. Now, one thing that we do around here, because again, the workshop it's obviously not air conditioned. So the workshop gets cool enough to start some of those bigger projects that we usually don't do during the summer, because long hours during the day in the workshop here is a little spicy.
So
it's a little warm.
So we should expect massive progress on
progress on projects. Yes.
80-inch specifically.
That's right.
Yeah,
yes,
we're gonna see that happen. Is there?
Yes.
All right. We're gonna.
I certainly need to fix the starter.
We're gonna create a schedule for you. And
stick to that schedule,
timeline,
yeah. Okay.
And we're going to do some.
Yep.
Get you up at that 80-inch dialed.
Get her shipshape ready to go. Yeah, there's a few things the 80-inch needs. New, hopefully, fingers crossed, a new starter. Hopefully not a new starter gear. That would suck. Having to replace the flywheel would not be fun. But
we are prepared for that eventuality. We can have one ready, waiting in case that happens. We can have that thing in and out in a few hours.
Yeah, well, it's going to be like a McLaren pit stop.
That'd be great.
Zip it through there. But how about you? How's the weather up there in beautiful Springfield, Eugene, Oregon?
Exactly as it is in Los Angeles, despite the difference in latitude.
Right.
We got a 52 degrees Fahrenheit temperature here.
Okay.
And, we have been busy in the workshop. Holidays are good. I really don't like visiting friends and family.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
I have a tendency to hunker down the workshop, and but that's not true. I really like it. Everybody is stopping by the workshop. We're drop-ins, checking in, seeing how things are going, bringing us various goodies, snacks, and apples and cookies and breads and these sorts of things, which is really wonderful. I want to thank everyone for doing that. But we have a brace of Series 1s right now that we're working on. The Wooden Land Rover continues to make progress. It's almost driving, we've got it to the stage where it's just about drivable. So that's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
We've got another 49 80-inch from the East Coast that is really taken off. We're making a lot of progress on that. It's getting kind of a full mechanical rebuild. This was for sale online by sort of one of these Land Rover retailers, Instagram sort of photos. And it just really wasn't up to snuff mechanically. A lot of significant problems, burnt valve, a lot of, transmission leaks and wrong, and hardware where there should be Whitworth hardware. A lot of wiring issues. So it's kind of getting the full Monty. It's getting
Nice.
a new fuel system, new wiring, engine, transmission, differentials, swivels, sort of they remain largely the same. We'll try to fix some of the hardware issues with it. But that car is it's going to be great. It's going to be a good driver. The owner's really excited about it. It's an early car. And then in my spare time, which I have copious
amounts of spare time. Yeah, of course.
We've been working on getting the Dakar Range Rover project into the workshop. So we've been
the workshop.
Cleaning
I saw
out.
it's officially landed in it.
It's in the
permanent
corner.
home.
It's in the corner. Yeah,
it's in the corner.
We've got Jenna set up with a nice little corner, some shelves to organize the parts and so forth.
Yep.
So it's in the door. So we've done some work on it previous to this, the removing some of the drivetrain to get those components rebuilt. But this is really the big, broad strokes. This is going to be the safety equipment. This is going to be, the rest of the ancillary mechanical components, the wiring, some of the body work and that sort of stuff.
And you guys are going to do the roll cage in-house, yeah?
I think so.
Yeah.
I've built a number of roll cages before. It's not something we do a lot of.
No.
We don't do a lot of tree runners or rock crawlers or these sorts of things.
Yeah.
But I certainly have done some roll cage work, and we have a tubing bender and we have tubing notchers and all that sort of things. There's not a lot of shops around here to do that work.
To do that, right.
As much as I would like to farm it out to somebody. I think I will have to probably do that job.
If you are a roll cage builder and would like to spend a beautiful week in Eugene, Oregon, just please get a hold of us.
Yeah. I think that there's a few things going for us on the Range Rover, one of which is the roof comes off. So I think on the new Defenders, I don't think the roof comes off. So
no, I think that would be a difficult. Yeah, I think once those cars are together, they are not really meant to ever come apart on purpose.
But because it comes from the manufacturer, and the manufacturer's fielding the team, they may be
they might have done it while it was
apart. So that'll be interesting to see. Or they could have just cut it off and then welded the roof back on.
That's true. That's also possible. And maybe it's a different roof structure completely. Who knows?
Hard to know.
Again, stock class. So no problem there. Not lightly modified vehicles.
Yeah. So what they've done, with those cars. We met the head of the Defender project. It'd be lovely to have him on the show and chat with him. Mark, I believe his name is.
Yeah. Yeah, I believe, though, we have now been officially excommunicated from Jaguar Land Rover after our uninvite from Destination Defender.
Well, that's what you get when you dump the CEO of Land Rover North America off your shoulders.
It's true.
That's what happened. Why did you do that?
Well, it was a chicken fight situation, and you don't
back down from a chicken.
You don't back
fight.
down from that kind of a challenge. That's what I'm saying. It is, but
never done a land war in Asia. Never back down from a chicken fight.
Exactly. Hopefully, he makes a speedy recovery from his 5th year now of back surgery. But it's how it goes sometimes. But it's going to be good. It's so you guys have that. You've got the engine out right at a professional Land Rover V8 engine builder here in the US.
That's correct. TWS Motors, the Wedge Shop, which I think refers to TR7s. They do racing engines for TR7s.
Yep.
And they're building this race engine. So it is using the original engine, which is kind of interesting.
It's really
this
neat.
car will get its original engine. It will be fully race prep. So we should be able to boost the power that comes out of it pretty substantially. So that'll be fun. And then LT95. So just the old clunky 4-speed transmission. And then the global Roamer overdrive will go on the back of that for that 5th gear.
Looking forward to that. Yeah, the Roamer drives are so cool.
Yeah, they've got tires. They'll be that as the build progresses.
Yeah.
So that's it's an exciting project. I'm feeling pretty overwhelmed with it. But
for sure. Yeah, it's entirely on your shoulders.
I know that you're going to come up and put some time in to help out. So that's the only thing that's really sustaining me at this point.
Get right on that. I'll look at the old schedule here.
Yeah, the calendar.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
We're going to have
book a flight. flights. Here we go. Again, anyone interested in volunteering some time on just go ahead and get a hold of us there. But yeah, no, that's going to be cool. And again, I'm just looking forward. I'm looking forward to watching the race this year as Formula One wraps up. Of course, next week, it nicely tails directly into Dakar. So for nearly the whole month of January, like there's a lot of coverage that's planned. And, yeah, you can actually, we just looked it up last week. You can get the Dakar app now on, iOS, so your Apple TV and stuff like that. And that allows you to get all the feeds. So you don't have to wait until it comes on ESPN4 at 2:00 in the morning. The Ocho. You can watch it anytime you want and live if you want. Of course, live is literally in the middle of the night, but on the Dakar app, which apparently it's made by the same people who make the Formula One app, which is very good. The Formula One app is great. So
it's going to be great. It's going to be great. So got those projects also in my spare time.
Third spare, yeah.
I'm also working on another 49 80-inch. I've got the motor all torn apart right now. It's in the workshop. Checking it all out.
Is it a client car or is that that's a night car?
No, it's just a pile of trash that came to us in a container from Australia.
Oh, yeah, of course.
It was literally disassembled into like 400 million pieces, and there should be 500 million pieces. So down that 100 million pieces has kind of been the order of the day. But we're doing the slog,
You've sorted it all out. Yeah,
a lot of hardware, a lot of like fiddly little Whitworth hardware to the, getting the motor assembled correctly. But we've got the workshop all buttoned up for the winter, and all the cars are ready.
How's the heating situation? I know Jason's side of the shop is nicely warmed, coincidentally the same.
We actually
same side that your office is on, which is
two heat pumps and a workshop heater. So
my goodness, it's toasty in there.
Toasty in there.
Nice.
You got to turn it down.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good place to be. It's nice to know you've got a little headroom.
It's like hot yoga in there, but just
it's just
wrenching.
Shirtless mechanics wrenching away. Yeah, no, it's great. Linus has lost 27 pounds just in the last week. It's amazing. Just from sweat. Just pure sweat.
Peeling off those overalls. Anyway.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's toasty in there. We're doing great, and you got to come visit anytime.
I plan a trip, planning it now, looking through the flights as we speak, and get right.
Yeah, I'll get my assistant to target.
Yeah, we're going to get the, it's going to be great. But no, I look forward to it. I haven't had a trip up there. Have I been up there this year?
Oh, I can't imagine that you have.
I don't know that I have.
No.
Oh, geez, a year without a trip to my pilgrimage up to the Land Rover Mecca that is a Pangolin 4x4. That's too bad. Maybe.
Now you're trying to divest yourself of.
I'm in the active divestiture. I believe we're going to move the stage 1 onto a good friend of ours, which is good. He's going to enjoy that car. It's a great example of the Saudi market, what they used to call the Persian market. Stage 1, really good. It's in good running shape, runs really strong. Has need of a roamer drive overdrive in it though. We
might be able to arrange that. No.
Yeah, that'd be good. I think it would make that car really fun. I know the 6-cylinder having the overdrive in it makes all the difference. It's a great. I was driving that car yesterday. Actually, it's just a great car, actually. Like you can take it on the freeway if you want to. It's totally fine. Easily keeps up and runs nice and smooth, and so it's great.
So you're getting rid of that. You're looking to get rid of the forward control, and we're
going to move the forward control along to somebody.
Selling these cars to all my friends.
That's exactly right. Yes, exactly right. Yes, some of our joint friends, some depending on the car. Just your friend. They won't be my friend anymore after they get this car and realize that these are all total junk.
Now, this person has a 101 forward control already. I think they're primed to.
They're savvy.
Be prepared for what you have to offer.
Yep. And let me tell you, and we, of course, over the past month, we've been moving in some friends of ours that run a grip and electric company, essentially a movie lighting company, into the workshop. So a full half of my workshop space is now inhabited with, I can only describe it as like a pallet rack jungle gym that we have assembled inside of the workshop here to be able to store all of their and our equipment. Because I'm bad at planning and I make bad decisions. But, here we go.
Well,
we're going to do it.
I have known it all along, but hearing it from you just makes it so much more real.
Yeah, I was driving motorcycles yesterday. I was riding motorcycles. I was driving cars. It was a great day. So,
well, it sounds wonderful.
Was wonderful.
Let's talk more about winterization.
Yeah. So what do you do up there to ensure that your vintage Land Rovers are reliable and comfortable during the winter?
I think we live in a pretty temperate climate here in Oregon.
It's not bad up there.
In the
not
Willamette
bad.
Valley, it does not get especially cold. It will get frosty, from time to time, but it is not like we see tons of snow and hard freezes for long periods of time. So,
what's the coldest that you would say you get there?
30,
Yeah. Just below freezing, like just a
it doesn't get
snow
super
and things.
cold. We've had ice storms in the past, but usually ice storms are kind of those things that happen on the cusp of freezing, right?
Yeah.
So we don't necessarily see super cold weather, so do a lot of that. And they don't salt the roads here either. So that's a problem on the East Coast is, the salty roads and
salty roads and metal are not compatible with each other.
Not good.
No.
So we don't necessarily have to deal with that a lot. But what we do have to deal with is, that time of year, this is the damp or wet season here through the spring. And so we get a lot of just constant precipitation. Not a lot. But
it's always raining. It's always
regular rain and precipitation, and it doesn't dry out very much. So a lot of what we do is changing out the canvas tops for, the hard tops or pickup cabs, canvases from rotting or molding. So we do that and, keeping an eye on any leaks that we have on the car so that we don't have so much damp inside the vehicles, getting the heaters, making sure they're all in, good working order, making sure that, the tires are all up to pressure. There's a lot of cars, just started and running on a regular basis is something that we like to do. But, our friends on the East Coast of the United States, they've really got it bad. They've got to do a lot.
Yeah. It's like a full-time job. I remember living in Calgary up in Canada that similar problems to the East Coast, right? It's salty roads, unfortunately, and gravel, which, man, the number of Defender windshields I've replaced in my life is staggering, as you cannot help but get those stones kicked up at your windshield and broken. It's
for following too close.
Yeah, I refuse to back off. It's very difficult to follow too close in a Land Rover. Catching up to someone is not an easy task, but
no. So when you're in those climates, do you like the studded tires? Do you like the tire chains?
We go just with ice rated tires, and then if you're spending a lot of time, in the woods, we'll chain the tires. That's my Defender would live with chains on it for a certain part of the winter, and that's just because up in Canmore they don't shovel the roads up off the freeways or the highway. So you want those chains if you can.
Yeah, I usually like to carry chains. In fact, it's mandatory here in Oregon. We don't get a lot of snow here in the valley, or cold weather, but anytime you want to come out of the valley,
you're right,
and you're crossing the Coast Range or the Cascades, you're gonna run into snow and ice, and it's mandatory that you carry chains. There's chain pull-offs on the side of the road.
Right.
So we do have to deal with chains, and installing chains is tricky if you haven't done it, if you're not practiced or haven't done it in a long time.
Yeah.
So that's something I recommend people do is practice putting your chains on when it's easy to do.
That's right. The first time takes 6.5 hours to figure out how to put those
when it's blowing snow and you're trying to, fish those chains under and attach them properly and keep them tight. It can go badly, and I've seen it go badly. If your chains aren't tight and they come loose and they wrap around the axle and they tin or something like that, it can take something that's unpleasant and make it just horrible.
Just absolutely terrible. Yeah, rip your fenders apart, all kinds of stuff. Yeah, and a good set of modern snow chains makes it a tiny bit easier, but it's still, I agree. Practice in your driveway before it starts snowing. Just give it once or twice, especially with large tires, oversized, mud terrainy tires and stuff. You'd think that actually makes it easier because there's a, big tire. It's easier, but it actually is much easier on tiny cars where you can basically just wrap them around by hand. You don't really have to do any kind of driving maneuvering. You can just sort of wrap them on there. But it's an acquired skill and a good one to have,
It is a
Here in California, we do require tire chains going up to the ski hills, up to Mammoth, up to Big Bear, things like that. Unless you're driving a 4-wheel drive vehicle with appropriate tires, then they'll usually let you through without.
Follow-up question. So do you if you have one pair of chains, what end of the car do you like to put them on?
I usually am a rear of the car chains
From the
kind of
car.
person.
Okay.
Yeah, I like a pushing, just like I like my chains, like I like my locking differentials, just in the back of the, give all that traction to the back.
Now,
and hope for
I'm
the
a
best.
proponent of chains on the front.
You like the chains on the front?
I like the chains on the front because I like to steer. So that's my thinking on that if I only have one set of chains. Now, Linus, he likes one front corner and one back corner.
Interesting. I was gonna say that seems about right. Yeah, and yeah, that's good. That's how he does it.
That's how he does it. But
yeah.
oftentimes I find when you have chains on the back, if you are going around like steep downhill curve, the front won't want to follow, and the rear will just push the front around.
Push the front,
and
yeah.
it can cause you to spin out. So I like to have them on the front personally.
Yeah. That makes sense.
But
In all
got their own
cases, I've
formula.
only really ever had 4. So I will throw chains on in the summer, though, sometimes on the back if I'm, if it's muddy enough or whatever that you just need a little help. I traditionally always drove around Land Rovers that didn't have locking axle differentials, just the center differential. And so sometimes we throw chains on the back just to get, that little bit of extra help, and that it often gets you through whatever's got you down.
Well, chains are certainly wonderful. Some people, they're driving icy roads. They like to use the studs. Studs aren't legal to have everywhere because they tear up the road.
Yeah.
And I guess you can run chains, but you can't run studs in some places.
You can sometimes
or
run
vice
chains,
versa.
even chains in, like, for instance, the town of Canmore. You're not allowed to run chains in the town. You get in trouble because it tears up the roads. They're shoveling and or salting the roads. So you pretty much are destroying your chains because they're running on asphalt, which is not great for them. And you're definitely tearing the road up. So.
Yeah. Do you like the V-bar chains? Is that what you like?
I have had a few different sets. I've had the Canadian Tire Special, which is essentially it's best described as barbed wire for your tires. They're the actual links in the chain have a little round stud sort of thing in them. But those are much older. Those are from the 90s, 80s, 90s. The ones I have now are V-bar chains. Yeah.
Now, are they a diamond pattern or a ladder pattern?
They are a ladder pattern, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, they are a ladder. They would be. They go horizontally across the tread, yeah.
A lot of people like the diamond chains. So,
Yeah, I don't think I've tried the diamond chains. I just happen to have the ones I have are pretty. In fact, the ones that I have been sitting in a bag in the workshop for probably 5 years, they're probably just a ball of rust because they probably got put away wet. Yeah.
And sometimes you have to, you have to take them off when you're going into the town of Cranbrook. They're going to be wet when you take them off.
That's exactly right. Yeah. Cranbrook doesn't let you drive around in those things.
I think that's
Chestermere
just,
or any of these great towns around Canberra, Airdrie.
That policy was just enacted by Big Tire Chain.
Yeah,
sure.
That's Big Tire. Yeah,
Big
they're
Tire.
put those chains in that bag, let them rust up. We'll get you new ones next year.
Yep. So at any rate, that's some discussion of tire chains. I know a lot of folks, ask those kinds of questions if they don't live in the climates where you're using them all the time. But
they're handy.
Number one recommendation, practice putting them on when it's easy.
Practice put them on when it's easy, yeah. And, they're, like I said, they're not just for the winter, they're handy.
So
all
when
kinds
you
of
used to
times.
live in Cranbrook, do you have to keep your
Canmore.
coolant? Canmore, did you say?
Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
okay. Did you have to
Antifreeze.
keep
Yeah,
your-
we would run special winterized coolants that are way higher antifreeze, and you plug your car in. You have a
plug your
heater
car in.
magnetized to the block, or you've taken the drain plug out of the block of the car and you've screwed in a drain plug with essentially like a heating element attached to it. And you plug the car into an extension cord from the house, and it will simply keep the block warm, keep the oil in the block warm. Because otherwise, that car is not starting. If it gets down to, where I'm from, it gets down to, negative 35 for 3-4 months out of the year. And so you need to plug your car in if it's outside. If it's not parked inside of a garage, you run an extension cord out to the lawn or whatever, wherever your car's parked, and plug her in. And some people do the magnetized ones.
Started a small fire under the sump.
Yeah. That does actually work. I have not done that myself, but I have friends who have certainly done that. That especially if you're out, winter camping or something, and it gets colder than you thought it was going to, and you just a little pan of usually gasoline or something under the sump, and
How many cars have you burned down doing that?
a number. Yeah, a number.
number.
Especially Land Rovers because they're covered in an oil gasoline film. It's great.
I didn't realize you could, become uninsurable from burning cars down accidentally. It's true.
Okay, that sounds good.
Now, talk about salt and what that does to Land Rovers.
Oh my God. It's, if you've ever put a bolt in a glass of Coca-Cola and just watch it, eat it, that's what that salt's doing to your car.
Ironically, that is how you remove rust from a bolt.
Yeah, isn't that weird? Yeah, it does. It does come off.
It doesn't promote rust. Yeah. It actually removes the rust.
It's highly acidic. Yeah, so it eats it, eats the rust.
So, my experience with Land Rovers and salt comes from my living in Indiana, where they're pretty heavily.
Yeah, pretty bad. Yeah.
Everyone there, at least they used to, have their own sort of chassis preventative, formula, recipe, what I call it.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it was, everybody had their secret sauce chassis to keep it from rusting in the winter. And they'd put it in a sprayer, and it would be something like, 4 parts of, chainsaw bar oil and 1 part acetone and 2 toilet wax rings, melted together. And people would make their own sort of wax oil substance.
Oh yeah, you got to have exactly, yeah.
Spray it all over their frame. It'd be like beef tallow and
just
whiskey.
All the all the dogs in the neighborhood all licking the chassis of a car. Yeah, no, there is some pretty interesting homebrew concoctions. What do you like? Do you like a lanolin kind of situation? Do you
That's
like
what
just
I use.
WD-40? What do you like?
I feel like every time I've had a rusty car, it's coated.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the permanent undercoating. Yeah,
I feel like I'd rather just have clean metal, So what I would do is I would just keep it clean, instead of some sort of textured or rubberized undercoating.
Yeah,
which has a tendency to fail at some time, even if it
100%.
Isn't now,
it gets chipped and then immediately rusts.
And it's under the coating to often see it, and it makes everything hard to work on, makes bolts hard to get your wrench on them. I usually just like to keep everything clean and rinse it with water and then keep oil on it.
Mm-hmm. Do you like a chassis oil, or do you like lanolin? Do you like what do you like something waxy?
I use the fluid film.
Yeah, fluid film. Yeah. I can do the same thing. Yeah. The 110 that's up in Calgary, we have the fluid film on that, and it's great. We also you can get it dyed black, which is kind of nice. So
it comes in black, and
you can get and clear, and it has an odor that is unlike anything else. It definitely has.
At first, you're kind of like, this is not too unpleasant, and then you're like, it's overwhelming.
Yeah, and then you're like, wait. Especially if you're doing it under the car, you need to be in the suit they use to look at CPUs in the lab. You got to be. It's like a outbreak monkey suit under there, because that once it gets on you, you can't get it off. You think you've washed it off, and then you look at your hands again, and they're somehow covered. And
it doesn't help when you purposely spray it into a bag and then put it over your nose and mouth and huff
and
it.
then just got
that
smell
black rain here.
That guy's got he's on the wax. That guy, poor guy. No, Dad's on the wax again. But it's good stuff. And I have lots of friends who just use WD-40. They go to the Canadian Tire. Just hit the whole underside of the car with WD-40.
Now, the other thing you want to make sure is check your drain holes. Check your drain. If you've been off-roading in the and you've got debris in your chassis or drains or any of these places, little bees will get in there and build nests. Clean those out. Wash them out. If it gets salt in there, it's gonna just ruin everything
right through it.
And it can't get out.
No, it's there's no way to get it out. I mean, that's a good personal note as well. Always check your drain holes.
Always check your drain holes. And a lot of the replacement panels that you find nowadays have drain holes. So drill drain holes if you don't have them in your doors or places. They're there for a reason. I see a lot of chassis, new replacement chassis, galvanized with no drain holes. No way to wash the mud out. No way to get the debris out of the inside of the chassis.
Well, and also, never hurts to chase the inside of those chassis with a little bit of the wax oil or the lanolin or whatever you want, just to kind of do that, though, again, when the car is very clean. Because, I've seen people under their muddy cars with the WD-40 spraying it down, and at that point, you're not really doing much there. That's just going to wash off. Right? And WD-40 does wash off pretty quickly. It's only good for, I don't know, whatever, a week or two. But, some people, that it's very cheap. You can get a can of WD-40 for next to nothing.
Yeah, if you're on a budget,
get under there and
use
just do
anything oily, go down to the, a mayonnaise factory and get some expired mayonnaise.
Just spray it on there. It's fine. It's one of those things. And actually, again, that's another tip where in the summer, spraying your chassis down with a little WD-40 or something before you go doing some serious muddy off-roading will also help that mud not stick to your underside quite as much.
It'll pay dividends.
Again, another good personal tip.
Yeah.
Just hit it with a little WD-40, keeps that mud from sticking to your underbits. So, if you have to get out and do some shoveling or something, it's good.
Well, hope you all stay warm out there. It's getting colder, and if you've got any tips, reach out. Tell us what you do in the winter.
And speaking of telling us, head on over to the old, if you listen on iTunes, if you listen on Spotify, if you listen on, I don't know, whatever other ones there are, drop us a comment, drop us a little review on there and rate us. Unless you're going to rate us anything but 5 stars, in which case, just keep that to yourself. Keep that to nobody needs to hear that, we're trying to trick new people into coming and listening to this. And so then you could be in on the joke as well. So it'd be great. We appreciate it.
And nice chatting as always, Stephen. Stay warm. Hope you don't get entirely pushed out of your workshop.
Yep, I'm hoping so, man. 55 degrees outside right now. I'm going to go get the parka and the winter boots. So with that, we'll talk to you next week.
See you on the trail.
The Underpowered Hour is produced by Liza Baris, Ike Goss, and me, Steve Baris. Pavel Svardov composed and performed our theme music. Consider supporting the show on Patreon, and if you already do, thank you. Your support makes the show possible. For even more, check out our Instagram or Facebook.